Do you often lose fights when you think you're better than the opponent? Do you find yourself saying things like, "Oh my god, you guys, how do we even lose that? Those guys were trash"? Do you often click on videos with titles like "How to Win Fights" in Apex Legends? Well then, you've come to the right place. You see, my name is All-Star Ethan and I'm here with my guide on how to increase your chances of winning fights. I'm going to be breaking down 10 different elements of fighting within Apex, starting with the main thing that you should avoid doing, and then 9 other elements that can help give you the tactical edge in overcoming your opponents. We are going to talk about something you should avoid first, which is overextending, because this is where I feel that I let myself down the most when solo queuing, and where I often have to rein my teammates in when I'm squadding up in ranked games, so it applies to multiple ways of playing. I recently solo queued to Masters, and I found the grind a lot easier when I stopped overextending, as this is what had been getting me killed the most. What I mean by this is that quite often, when playing aggressively, I'll push too far into a team. Overextending usually refers to an individual pushing without his team, but it is true that a whole team can overextend as well. However, we shall talk about the difference between overextending and a well-executed hard push later on. For now, I want to talk particularly about a solo overextension here. Specifically, I want to talk about the difference between overextension and either flanking or punishing. So first and foremost, overextension is of course a bad thing, otherwise it will just be called extension. It happens mostly when a player is too aggressive with their push and puts themselves in a compromising position, either being killed or causing detriments to their teammates having to come and save their ass, either dying themselves or using up resources. It's important to note that overextension can sometimes work in your favour, especially in pubs where teams may be more split or caught off guard. However, it is always a risk and it is not good practice. The bad parts of overextension, and the points to spot yourself doing it, are either when you push yourself into the middle of a team and become surrounded, you attempt a third party and put yourself between the two teams, you push the back of the team and cut yourself off from your own team, or when you try to flank and become isolated as the whole enemy team focuses you. To stop yourself overextending, think before you move. Would it be better to wait for your team to join you before pushing up? Would it be better to hold your position and use your cover to get a pick on an unsuspecting enemy? Would it be better to keep a building defended rather than running out to try and get a kill? Would it be better to back off before the team rushes you? Would it be better to use throwables to keep the enemy team pinned before pushing? Is this flank actually possible? Is your own team even doing enough to cover you and keep the focus on them while you flank? These are all the types of questions you need to be asking yourself before you extend yourself too far. And of course, and always, keep your eye on that minimap. Make sure you know where your teammates are. Now that we have that out of the way, let's crack on with the things to do right and talk about isolating. By the term isolating, I'm not talking about quarantining, I actually mean taking advantage of an enemy that is split from their team. The key elements to this are looking out for an enemy that is by themselves, which you can do by keeping an eye on an interactable parts of the map, like respawn beacons and care packages, or by waiting for their two teammates to go up a zip line and pushing the third before they get the chance. Or perhaps even by staying quiet and letting one of the team stroll into you all unawares like. You can also isolate an enemy during a fight by watching out for flanking maneuvers, or by using various legend abilities or throwables to cut off an enemy from their team. It is super important to take advantage of an isolated enemy whether they have overextended or you've forced them to be split. If you can get that knock, then the fight is basically won as you have the numbers advantage on the enemy team. However, you need to remain regimented and don't get overconfident, as two people that are well prepared and patient can easily squad wipe a rushing team. If you need to, you can just get the one kill and then reset yourselves ready for the teammates to get the banner or revive them. We shall now look at focus fire, which can tie in with isolating. Focus fire is when you and your teammates focus all of your efforts towards one person or area. This can be absolutely devastating for the enemy. I know I've certainly been on the opposing end of a focus fire thinking, damn, I didn't even have time to blink before I was dead. This is obviously a tip for people that use their mic, making callouts to their team. Key parts of focus firing is picking a priority target. Usually this will be a lifeline or a gibby, because these legends can seriously affect the outcome of a fight. For instance, if you focus fire the lifeline, then she can't get off that cheeky res. This is so important because I've seen a ton of fights where my team had laid down a shed load of damage, but each time we are just breaking somebody's shield, whilst they then heal it straight back up, and we never truly punish the opposing team with how much damage we are laying down. If you focus a target, you can ensure that the damage you are each doing surmounts to an actual knock. Another note on this, once you get a knock, get your teammates to focus finishing the player by straight up blasting through that knockdown shield. You'd be surprised how fast you can deal even the 750 damage needed for a purple knockdown shield when all three of you are shooting at once. This means that even if their teammates use their ultimates or try to portal them out, etc., they still won't get that revive. Another really good way of getting a knock is to use a 3-2-1 countdown on picking off people at long distance. It is possible to instantly down a player if you shoot them with a longbow whilst your teammate shoots them with a scout at exactly the same time. This means that they don't have to react to the initial shot and get into cover. This is something that should always be done when someone is either running a sniper rifle or if multiple people are running guns like the scout or the 30-30 or the hemlock or maybe the new bowcheck. In fact, it's even possible for 3 people to get a knock long distance when using an SMG if they can time their shots correctly and all get a few bullets in. Another benefit to this is in ranked, if you all get a shot on, then you all get a bit of the RP. We are moving on to punishing now, which means to take advantage of the enemy's mistakes and can occur in many different forms. The main way to punish a player is by waiting for them to make a mistake, such as running through open areas, peeking from cover, crafting, reviving, using zip lines, climbing animations, pushing too hard, and many more different ways. Another important way to punish a player is by being patient and making sure that they come to you, often leaving cover or splitting from their team. As you can see, this will tie in with other areas such as focus firing a person that is trying to grab a banner, but the main point for each of these is that you make sure the enemy doesn't get away with making any of these mistakes. And if you see one happening, take advantage yourself or shout it out to your teammates. For example, if you know someone is about to climb up on your roof, make sure you are sat on the edge ready to shoot whilst they're too busy going through the climbing animation with no gun. Alternatively, if you notice someone is pushing aggressively, back off behind some cover and wait for them to rush in while you're pre-aiming them. It'll take way too long to describe all the scenarios, but looking out for when you can punish a player and see if you can get some knocks by doing so. Earlier on, we looked at overextending where I said that it is possible for a whole team to make this mistake. Usually that is because of a hard push gone wrong. Here, I'll talk about when to actually hard push and how to avoid a bad one. First of all, a hard push needs to be done as an entire team and will be the time that you are taking advantage of any ultimates or throwables that you have. Usually, you hard push for 2 reasons. The first reason being that the enemy team is at a disadvantage, whether their player is knocked or if they're all broken or if they're busy grabbing loot or if you have the opportunity to push a third party on 2 fighting teams. To avoid this going wrong, make sure that there is a safe actual push there. Will the team be revived by the time you get there? Will they have their ultimates they can throw on you as you approach? Will they be able to beam you as you push with no cover? Is there a team waiting to third party you? Is your team actually all healed and able to push? Finally, you need to make sure that everyone is giving everything they've got and there is no hesitation. The last thing you want is for your teammate to have their shields broken and stop to heal whilst you have to fight 3v2. Remember, even if it's the bad decision, if you do it as a full 3-man with no hesitation, you've probably got a good chance of getting out of there. The other reason you might hard push is because you have to, whether the ring is at your back, or if you have no choice but to rotate through a choke point, or if you are stuck between 2 teams, whether you need the winning position for the end game, as you'll be beamed from multiple angles if you stick where you are. The key part to this is, again, making sure your whole team gives everything they've got, using any ultimates and throwable that are useful, and it is adamant that you accept this may not go well and be willing to lose a teammate if it means succeeding in your overall goal, whether it be getting out of the choke point or fighting off the third party. Okay, so this one not a lot of people know about, and that is actually subbing. So you might be wondering what subbing is in Apex. Well, it actually stands for subscribing. And it is well known that anybody that subscribes to this channel in particular will have at least a 10% increase in the amount of fights that they win. And as we all know, that is, gotta switch to green here, absolute stocks. So make sure you do it. Okay, this one is a little controversial and a guide to winning more fights in Apex, but we need to talk about retreating. To put it simply, you can't win fights if you've been sent back to the lobby. If you're being third-partied, retreat. If you have the worst positioning and are getting beamed, retreat. If you realise that you've done goofed and they are about to ape you, then retreat. Whether you like it or not, retreating can actually help you win fights. Have you ever had all your shields broken and decided to run away to reset only for the enemy team to rush you? If you execute your retreat well, you can punish the enemy team when they seemingly have the advantage. To give you an example of this, I was recently in a diamond match where I had overextended from artillery towards the centre of the map where a team was waiting in a compound and immediately beamed me. I was on 20 HP when I shouted out to retreat. My teammates immediately put down some covering fire whilst I got back to them, and then we quickly darted through the wooded area nearby. My teammate, being the clever sausage he is, called out that we should go to the choke and then wait to pounce on the other side. After we went through the choke, I only had time to pop one cell, putting me on just 45 HP, but that didn't matter as we were all pre-aiming the choke point whilst in cover ourselves. Obviously, despite my low health, we wiped up pretty cleanly because they were rushing us so overconfident after getting such clean shots on me. It can take some practice knowing when to retreat, and even more practice knowing when you can use your retreat to turn the tables, but it can be key from going to dying to gaining some kills. As a little tip, if you are retreating and being hunted by a Bloodhound or an Octane who are faster than you, they are most likely split from their team due to their speed, so use this as an opportunity to punish them. We're now going to be looking at a part of fighting that will be bound to happen. Reviving. Obviously, a teammate being downed already puts you at a disadvantage, but when it happens, you need to be focusing on a few things. Firstly, is making sure the two alive teammates are well positioned to keep the enemy team from rushing you. Secondly, whether the enemy team is already well on top of you, and if it is time to dip and leave your teammate for dead and get the banner later. And thirdly, whether there is any way you can revive your teammate. A big mistake teams make is trying to revive too early. Your priority is still dealing with the enemy team and keeping composed. A two-man team, well drilled, can still fend off a three-man. Whilst your teammate is down, you need to be providing cover so they don't get finished whilst you plan your next move. It might be that you can use a portal to get them out, or throw a dome on them, or maybe you just need to win the fight as a duo. Another thing to watch out for is being able to punish the overconfident team that just downed one of you. They might all rush in too hard, where you can get easy picks from cover, or they might split as one tries to finish the kill. Above all, remain calm, use what you know, and play it out with the confidence that one man down is not a lost fight. If you have kept the enemies at bay, and the knocked squad mate has managed to get close enough, one of you can stick the res while the other one covers. I'm about to show you how a lot of people get this wrong and how to fix it. Okay, so we're going to have a little look at two examples of reviving. Now, here we've got the enemy team in red. You've got your two teammates there in green. The cross, he is down, he needs reviving by the circle. Now, what a lot of people do is they tend to stand somewhere around here and kind of watch this corner like that. The problem with this is it allows the entire enemy team to push forwards and basically come around the corner and get easy beams on you there. What you want to be doing instead is you want to be positioning yourself actually on this corner and making sure that you are shooting or putting down some suppressing fire down the corridor like that. So it also actually works with any other kinds of cover there as well. You see I've just gone for some rocks. You've got your two teammates there that are trying to get the revive off. Again, let's have some enemy players, wherever they may be. Let's have there, and maybe a triangle coming up behind. The mistake that a lot of people make this time is they'll stand, near their teammates there, trying to get some cover off. They might even stand on this part of the rock, trying to go around there. The best thing to do in this scenario is to actually push yourself up a little bit onto something like that so that you can actually take some shots going around. You can go around there and put some cover down, keeping them away from your teammates, not allowing them to actually get close. So, in short, don't stand right on your teammate that is reviving. Try and get a little bit ahead and keep that team off you. The next one is pretty short, suppressing fire. This is used when you need to stop a team from pushing you, or to give cover to a teammate, or to keep the enemy's heads down whilst your teammate pops off a bat. This can also be used to distract enemies from an isolated teammate. It is important to note on this that whilst putting down damage is always useful, suppressing fire isn't about getting knocks or even injuring the enemies too much. It's more about firing enough their way that they feel uneasy about taking advantage of whatever situation is presented. Even if you are missing every shot, simply shooting at a window the enemy is peeking from or blasting open a door they're behind are all good ways of keeping a team distance. Next, we have poking. This really comes into play in ranked, but with the introduction of Evo shields, poking became a prominent part of a fight. In short, poking is long to medium range engagements where the chance of a knock is slim and the aim is to farm damage and waste an opponent's meds, whilst also keeping them away from you. Key parts to poking are lines of sight, where you want to make sure you are in a position you can actually take advantage of the enemy popping out of cover to poke you from. Also, moving around from spot to spot. If you keep poking from the same window, the more likely the enemy team can focus fire you next time you pop up. And finally, thinking about focus firing the team yourself. First and foremost, though, is do not get knocked. Even if you aren't dealing any damage, it's better than being knocked by a poke and engagement. Do not be that guy or girl, as you'll look a fool. Whilst writing this, I certainly thought of more areas to cover in more detail, like cover itself for instance, but this video will be long enough, so I'm going to end with my favourite: presents. Not like the gift kind of presents, but the presence of an enigmatic figure. This is my favourite because it is something that not enough teams do, even when they have the advantage. During a match, there'll usually be a point that it's got to the top 5 teams, and it's round 4 or 5 or even 6, and each team's at a stalemate in their position. You might be one of those teams holed up where the ring shall end and even set up with your Caustic or your Watson or your Rampart or whatever you like. The biggest mistake that I see during this is that you give no presents. Think about it. If you're all tucked up nice and safe in your position and everyone is going to have to move when the next ring comes in, do you think they'll push the team hiding away or the team that's holding a large area and firing shots out at everybody? When I see a team hiding away, keeping a low profile and avoiding shooting, that's the team I know has no confidence, with a cold trigger finger, and deserves to be punished. When you have taken a building or a hill or whatever position you are in, don't be completely holed up in there. Be on the roof, be peeking through windows, be spread out a little and firing shots off so that every other team knows that you are the guys in the lobby not to be messed with. Well, that is everything. If you stuck to the end, then thank you so much. If you'd like to support me, then you know what to do below. Other than that, I hope to see you around these parts again. I've been All-Star Ethan, and peace out.